Hi friends, welcome to Dhiksoochi. Why there is a war between Russia and Ukraine? Why there is a crisis? How it happened? From when it was there? Because the war between Russia and Ukraine is the latest topic in all over the world since February 2022. Now, if you see the world map, Russia, if you see, it's looking like a big country. And also Ukraine. Here is Ukraine. Ukraine is a very small country if you see. Here is our India. So in this video, we are going to also talk about how the war between Russia and Ukraine is going to impact our Indian economy. If you see the Russia and Ukraine very closely, then both are sharing the borders. And there is another country, Belarus, and also another country, Kazakhstan, are also going to be a part of our discussion. So, let us move into the detail. Before moving it, let us know about Russia a little. So, this is the flag of Russia, and if you see in the world map, this is the largest country in the world. Russia is also stated as Russian Federation. This is transcontinental country because it is sharing its states with European as well as Asian continents. So that's the reason we name it as transcontinental country. So it is sharing with Eastern Europe and Northern Asia. This is the largest country in the world, also the most populous country in Europe. The capital of Russia is Moscow. The Moscow is the largest city in the Europe. This is what about Russia. Now, before knowing about Ukraine, we have to know there is another country, that is Crimea, that is named as Cremia. What is this Crimea is? See, here is a Crimea which is nearer to Ukraine and Russia. So, this is a northern coast peninsula of Black Sea in the Eastern Europe. Also, it has ethnics of Russian country as well as has significance of Ukraine and Crimean Tatar minorities. And this Crimean was annexed by the Russian Empire in the year 1783. This actually because of the result of Russo-Turkish War, which was held during 1768 and 1774. Now you know the Russia and Crimea. Now let us know about Ukraine. So Ukraine in the past, actually it is a separate country and sharing the boundaries with Russia. But of course it was a part of Russian Empire in the past. Also it became independent in the year 1991 and fall as Soviet Union. Now since the independence, the country was facing problems like corruption and also the internal divisions. The country would like to integrate with western areas of Europe members, also the eastern area with Russia. Now, the conflict, how it got started. If you want to know, you have to know about this person. He was the then president of independent of Ukraine. So, Ukraine president was Viktor Yanukovych, has rejected the association with the eastern countries of Europe, where he is more interested towards the relationship with Moscow. There, the protest has started, and the revolution of dignity was started in the Ukraine because the Russia annexed Ukraine Crimean Peninsula and backed East Ukraine separatist rebellion. So, finally, the president Viktor Yanukovych was removed on 22nd February 2014. Amidst the pro-Russian unrest in Ukraine and Russian soldiers with significant insignias took control over strategic positions. Also, they have taken control over infrastructure within the Ukraine territory of Crimea. That is how the conflict started between the Ukraine as well as the Russia. Now, let us know about NATO, because we are hearing about NATO since then the war between the Ukraine and Russia was announced. What is NATO? This is a logo of it, and it has a member countries of 30. That is, NATO means North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So, it includes the countries like US, UK, France and Germany. It has some collective defensive principles under Article 5. It says that if at all any member of its country, any country of its membership got attacked by any other country, so it feels that the attack was on all members of NATO. That is what the Article 5 says. Also, if member of it attacked by any external, then all the group members will support that particular country. Also considers that the attack for all the members, not only for the country which is attacked by. Now, what Ukraine wants? Because we know the Ukraine was a part of it and it got independence. Also, we know Crimea and NATO. Now, the Ukraine, the present president of Ukraine is Volodymyr Zelensky. The Ukraine wants membership of US by 2024. Before it taking the membership with NATO, it wants to clear all its problems. What are its problems? There are corruption, also the internal divisions. And even the president also elected by promising these, that is peace in the Donbas region, anti-corruption and economic renewal. That is what he elected for. Now, there are few more articles in the legal security. Those are disclosed and discussed recently by the President of Russia, is Vladimir Putin. What were those? If you see the Article 4, as of 27th May 1997, whatever already stationed at the territory, apart from that, shall not deploy any military forces and weaponry on the territory of any of the other states in Europe. That is the Article 4 says. Also, there is another article, that is Article 6 says that the member states of the NATO commit themselves to refrain from any further enlargement of NATO, including the accession of Ukraine as well as other states. These were also came into the news after the crisis started between Russia and Ukraine, and it was clearly mentioned by the President of Russia. And this was guaranteed by the US as well as NATO. This was disclosed and cleared by Vladimir Putin. Now, how the crisis is deepened in the year 2022. So, first, Ukraine wants to join NATO, and NATO also wanted to accept the membership from Ukraine. But Russia doesn't want NATO to allow Ukraine to become its member. Why? Because the Crimea was annexed by Russia, and if Ukraine becomes the member of NATO, as an attack policy, the NATO members may attack on Russia and take back Crimea for Ukraine. That is what the worry of the President of Russia. And Russia also demanding that to pull NATO from West, also the Eastern Europe, and not expected or never expand into Ukraine. Then, in December 2021, the NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has rejected all the demands of Russia. What were the demands? The demand was to revoke a 2008 commitment to Ukraine that the country would one day become a member. And also he warned that when the time would come, Russia would not be able to veto Ukraine's accession. This deepened the crisis in the year 2022. Now, what the contribution of US and NATO between the crisis of these two? Then, the US and NATO have turned down Russia's demands. Also, they are backing the Ukraine and promoted to hit Russia financially if its troops advances to Ukraine. That's what happened. Then, why the US is concerned about? If you see, the US is here and Russia is far from this. But where the US is concerned about this? If you see, the US states that the Russia violated the Budapest Memorandum security assurance for Ukraine as it is annexed Crimea and backed the Donbas conflict. That is what the US states. Also, there was a multilateral agreement which was inked in 1994 between US, UK and Russia to protest Ukraine's sovereignty in exchange for its commitment to give up its nuclear arsenal. This is what happened between US and Russia. Now, what is Budapest Memorandum Security Assurances? That is, the memorandum was discussed among the countries US, UK and Russia. It refers that there was an agreement signed at OSCE, that is Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. The conference was held in Budapest on 5th December 1994. So, this agreement provides security assurances by its signatories related to the accession of Belarus, Kazakhstan and Ukraine. Right? Also, the memorandum was signed by these three nuclear powers. Those are Russian Federation, United Kingdom and United States. Now, during the crisis, the President of Russia decree on 21st February 2022 that he recognizes the two regions in Ukraine, that is Donetsk, also the Luhansk, as independent held entities. Also, he deputed the troops to maintain peace in these two regions. This was another step ahead for calling war. Then they also attacked Donbas. Here is the Donbas. It is the industrial heartland of Ukraine. Also, there were 14,000 people lost their lives between the war of Ukraine and also Russia-backed separatists. Now, the Russian and Ukraine war, it was strengthened because the deputation of military in Ukraine by Russia. That is, Ukraine and the West accused Russia of deploying troops and sending weapons to the rebellions, an allegation that Russia denied. Also, the Russia strongly criticized the US and NATO because they are aiding Ukraine with weapons and joint military drills, which even the president expressed concerns over plans by some NATO members to establish military training centers in Ukraine, as it will facilitate military foothold in the region even without Ukraine joining the NATO. In the sense, NATO was supporting Ukraine even it is not a member of NATO. That is what he expressed. How it is going to affect our country, that's India. Here is our India and the Russia. There is a much distance between Russia and India. Even the Russia is always supportive to India. Now, if you see these geopolitical tensions, those are not only threatening India and it is hitting the globe. In which way? You can see in the diplomacy, economies and also the markets. Even the oil prices have surged. Our India has 80% of oil imports for its requirement. This 80% is 25% of its total imports. The rise in the crude oil prices are leading to current account deficit, also the increase in the subsidy bill, because there is increase in the subsidy on LPG and kerosene, which are pushing the subsidy bill of our country. India and Russia has trade between them is $9 billion annually. Of course, this is 1% of India's global trade, but the war may impact defense, energy and grain delivery sectors. Apart from these, stock markets are crashing. Also, the stock market is facing huge volatility since for the past 7 days. That's what for the day, friends, from Dhiksoochi. Let us meet again in the next video. Do subscribe, post your comment so that we can discuss many important points. Let us meet again in the next video. Till then, take care. Bye bye, friends.